"Don't smile like that at me," Jungkook said, his voice shaking as rain bled through the city lights behind him. "You're pretending you're fine, and I can't take it anymore." The rooftop smelled of wet concrete and cold metal. Neon reflections trembled in puddles around their shoes. Jimin stood at the edge, the wind pressing his silk shirt against his skin, his hair plastered against his forehead. His lips curved into that familiar crescent smile, the one fans adored, the one that lit up rooms, the one Jungkook once said saved him. But tonight it looked fragile, artificial, like glass about to shatter. "I am fine," Jimin replied softly. He always said it that way, too softly, as if lowering his voice would make the lie gentler. Jungkook laughed, but it wasn't humor, it was frustration sharpened into sound. "You think I don't see it? You think I don't know what I did to you?" The thunder rolled overhead, but Jimin flinched before it came, as if he had expected the noise. He hated loud sounds. He hated sudden confrontations. He hated the way Jungkook's eyes could strip him bare. The truth was, Jimin had always been afraid of abandonment. He hid it well, under playful teasing, under warm hugs, under that radiant smile. As a child, he had learned that if he looked happy enough, people stayed. If he was gentle enough, kind enough, indispensable enough, they wouldn't leave. But Jungkook had never needed convincing to stay. That was the cruelest part. Until he did. "You didn't do anything," Jimin whispered. Another lie. The memory struck them both at once. The cafe 3 months ago, Jungkook's hand pulling away too quickly when cameras flashed. Jungkook saying, "This isn't what you think," while not looking at him. Jungkook choosing silence over clarity, silence over defense. Jimin had stood there smiling, while whispers curled like smoke around him. He had smiled. That was his specialty. Back on the rooftop, Jungkook stepped closer, his sneakers splashed through rainwater. "You stopped calling me by my name." Jimin blinked. He hadn't realized Jungkook noticed. "You call everyone else Kookar, you call me Jungkook, like I'm a stranger." A flicker crossed Jimin's face, barely there but enough. The smile trembled. "Maybe you are," Jimin said. The wind howled, carrying the metallic scent of incoming storm. Jungkook's chest tightened. He had never been good with guilt. It crawled under his skin, made him restless, made him defensive. And the truth was, he had been scared that day at the cafe. Scared of headlines, scared of rumors, scared of wanting something he couldn't publicly protect. So he had let Jimin stand alone. He told himself it was strategic, smart, necessary. But the look in Jimin's eyes that day had followed him into sleep every night since. "You think I didn't defend you because I don't care," Jungkook's voice cracked. "I was trying to protect us." "By pretending there was no us?" Jimin asked quietly. Silence fell between them, heavier than the rain. Jimin's hands were shaking. He hid them behind his back. He always hid his shaking hands. He hated when people saw how deeply things affected him. He liked control, clean lines, polished performances. His room was always spotless, his shoes perfectly aligned. Chaos frightened him. Jungkook was chaos. "I waited," Jimin said, staring at the city instead of him. "I waited for you to say something, anything, but you didn't." Jungkook swallowed. He remembered that freeze, the camera flashes, the management staff watching, the panic. He remembered choosing silence because it felt safer than truth. But safety had cut deeper than scandal ever could. "I thought you understood," Jungkook murmured. "I did," Jimin replied. "That's why it hurts." The rain softened to a whisper. Jimin finally turned to face him fully. His smile was gone now. In its place was exhaustion, raw and unfiltered. "You always say I'm strong," Jimin continued. "But I'm only strong because I have to be. I don't know how to fall apart in front of people. I don't know how to ask someone to choose me." Jungkook stepped forward, heart pounding. "I choose you." The words came too late. Jimin's eyes glistened, not dramatic, not overflowing, just enough to betray him. "You chose fear first." That was Jungkook's secret. He feared losing everything, career, stability, image. He feared headlines more than heartbreak. And now he was standing in the rain realizing he might lose both anyway. "I'm tired of smiling," Jimin whispered. The confession felt louder than thunder. Jungkook reached for him, but Jimin didn't step back. He didn't step forward either. He just stood there, suspended between staying and leaving. For a moment, the world narrowed to the sound of their breathing. "I never wanted to hurt you," Jungkook said. "I know," Jimin answered. "That's what makes it worse. Because intentional cruelty can be fought, accidental wounds linger." Jimin brushed past him then, walking toward the stairwell. Jungkook grabbed his wrist instinctively. Jimin stiffened, not in fear, but in fatigue. "Don't go," Jungkook pleaded. Jimin looked down at the hand holding him. Gently, he removed it. "I'm not going," he said. "I'm just done pretending." He descended the stairs slowly, leaving Jungkook alone with the rain and the echo of everything unsaid. Below, the city hummed, unaware that behind Jimin's radiant smile lived a fracture that Jungkook himself had carved. And for the first time, Jungkook realized that love isn't proven by how tightly you hold someone in private. It's proven by whether you dare to stand beside them when the world is watching. The storm finally broke, but neither of them felt cleansed. Behind Jimin's smile, the wound remained. And Jungkook knew healing it would require more courage than loving him ever had. The dressing room door slammed so hard the mirror rattled. "You don't get to walk away every time it gets hard," Jungkook snapped. His reflection fractured into a dozen versions of anger under the bright vanity lights. "You don't get to disappear and call that strength." Jimin didn't turn around immediately. He stood in front of the clothing rack, fingers brushing over fabrics he couldn't see. The room smelled like hairspray and stage smoke. Outside, muffled cheers from rehearsals echoed like a distant storm. "I didn't disappear," Jimin said quietly. "I just stopped chasing you." Jungkook's jaw tightened. "That's not fair." "Fair?" Jimin finally faced him, eyes dark and steady. "Was it fair when I stood alone while you stared at the floor?" The words hit like a slap. Jungkook ran a hand through his damp hair. He hadn't slept, not since the rooftop. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jimin's trembling hands hidden behind his back. He hated that detail most, the quiet suffering, the way Jimin swallowed pain so it wouldn't inconvenience anyone. "I was protecting everything we built," Jungkook argued, voice rising. "You think it's just about us? There are contracts, expectations, millions of eyes." "And I wasn't one of them," Jimin shot back, stepping closer. "I wasn't part of what you were protecting." The air thickened. They were too close now, too raw. "You think I don't carry pressure?" Jimin continued, voice shaking despite his effort to stay composed. "You think smiling through exhaustion is easy? You think pretending I'm unbreakable doesn't cost me something?" Jungkook faltered. He knew Jimin's habits, the way he cleaned obsessively after arguments, the way he hummed softly when anxious, the way he overpracticed a dance move long after everyone else stopped. Control was his armor. And Jungkook had cracked it. "I never asked you to be unbreakable," Jungkook muttered. "No," Jimin said bitterly, "you just leaned on it." Silence. The hallway outside buzzed with staff voices. Footsteps passed. The world moved forward, unaware of the war inside four white walls. Jungkook lowered his voice. "You're acting like I betrayed you." Jimin laughed, "And it wasn't kind, didn't you?" The word hung there. Betrayal. Jungkook felt anger flare up, defensive and sharp. "I didn't choose someone else." That's not the only way to betray someone. The room felt smaller, hotter. Jungkook took a step back, packing. "You're twisting it." "I'm clarifying it," Jimin replied. "You chose safety over me. You chose silence over truth. You chose fear over loyalty." "I was scared," Jungkook exploded, voice cracking against the walls. "Is that what you want to hear? I was terrified. Terrified that one wrong move would destroy everything, that they'd tear you apart worse than me, that I wouldn't be strong enough to shield you." Jimin's expression shifted, but only slightly. "You didn't shield me, you stepped aside. That one landed deeper than all the shouting. Jungkook stared at him, breathing hard. What do you want from me? I want you to stop hiding behind strategy, Jimin said, softer now. I want you to admit that part of you was ashamed. The accusation sliced clean. I was not ashamed of you, Jungkook said through clenched teeth. Then why did you look like you regretted standing next to me? Because in that moment, Jungkook had imagined headlines, speculation, judgment. Because he had calculated consequences faster than emotions. Because he had hesitated. And hesitation can look like regret. Jungkook's silence answered for him. Jimin nodded slowly, as if confirming something he had long suspected. That's what hurt, not the silence, the hesitation. A knock sounded on the door. 5 minutes, someone called. Neither of them responded. Jungkook stepped forward again, voice lower, desperate. I love you. Jimin's breath caught, but he didn't melt. He didn't crumble. He just stood there, absorbing the words like rain on stone. You love me in private, Jimin said, but you doubt me in public. That's not true. Then prove it. The challenge was simple, terrifyingly simple. Jungkook searched his face for a hint of softness, a sign that this was just another emotional storm they could dance around. But Jimin looked resolute, tired, done negotiating with half measures. You're asking me to risk everything, Jungkook whispered. I risked everything the moment I loved you, Jimin replied. The honesty in that sentence cracked something open. Another knock, louder, we need you both on stage. The crowd's roar seeped through the walls now, vibrating under their feet. Jungkook looked toward the door, then back at Jimin. His heart pounded in his ears. If I do this, Jungkook said slowly, there's no going back. Jimin held his gaze. I know. For a split second, fear won again. Jungkook imagined chaos, interviews, questions, consequences spiraling beyond control. Then he imagined Jimin smiling, that fragile smile forever. He reached for the door handle. Jimin's hand caught his wrist this time, not to stop him, but to steady him. You don't have to be fearless, Jimin murmured, just be honest. The stage lights exploded as they stepped out. The sound of thousands screaming swallowed everything. Heat from the pyrotechnics brushed against their skin. Cameras flashed like lightning. Jungkook's chest rose and fell rapidly. Midway through the performance, during a pause where the choreography slowed and the spotlight narrowed to the two of them, Jungkook made a choice. He didn't look away. He didn't create distance. He reached for Jimin's hand and held it, not as part of a scripted move, not as fanservice, but firmly, intentionally. A ripple moved through the arena, a shift in energy, surprise. Jimin's eyes widened for a fraction of a second, then something softer bloomed there, something almost disbelieving. Jungkook stepped closer, voice steady as he sang the next line, gaze locked on Jimin in a way that left no room for doubt. Gasps, cheering, shock. Backstage staff exchanged frantic glances. Phones were already lighting up across the world. But Jungkook didn't let go. And for the first time in months, Jimin's smile wasn't armor. It was real. Later, when the lights dimmed and the noise faded, they stood alone again in the quiet hallway. You're insane, Jimin whispered, though his eyes were shining. Probably, Jungkook replied, but I'm done being a coward. Jimin stepped closer, forehead resting lightly against Jungkook's shoulder. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just human. You scared me, Jimin admitted softly. I know. And you hurt me. I know. Jungkook exhaled slowly. I don't want to be the reason you hide behind a smile. Jimin closed his eyes, then don't. The world outside was already erupting with speculation. Controversy would come, questions would follow, nothing would be simple from here. But in that quiet hallway, there was no storm. Only two people, standing closer than they ever had, not because it was safe, but because it was honest. And for once, Jimin wasn't smiling to survive. He was smiling because he chose to stay. The headline hit at 3:17 a.m. Jungkook saw it first. He hadn't slept. The city outside his apartment was silent, but his phone wasn't. Notifications stacked on the screen like accusations. Confirmed or careless. Did they just come out live on stage? Management remains silent. His chest tightened. Across the hall, Jimin's door creaked open. He walked in without knocking, barefoot, hoodie sleeves pulled over his hands. His hair was messy, eyes red, not from crying, but from reading too much. "You saw it," Jimin said quietly. Jungkook nodded. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air felt heavy, metallic, like before a lightning strike. "They're calling it a publicity stunt," Jungkook muttered. "They're calling it worse than that," Jimin replied. Jungkook's jaw clenched. He had always told himself he could handle backlash. Criticism fueled him, but this wasn't just about him. Every word online felt like it was slicing into Jimin. "They're saying I manipulated you," Jungkook said bitterly. Jimin let out a humorless laugh. "They're saying I trapped you." The irony would have been funny if it didn't hurt so much. Jungkook stood up abruptly. "I'll go talk to the company." Jimin's head snapped up. "And say what?" "That we're not apologizing." The word hung there. Apologizing. Jimin's fingers tightened in his sleeves. He had spent years apologizing for existing too brightly, too softly, too emotionally. He was tired. "If they force a statement," Jungkook began. "They will," Jimin cut in. "Silence." Jungkook paced. "Then we refuse." Jimin stared at him, searching his face. "Do you know what that means?" "I don't care." "That's easy for you to say when you're angry," Jimin shot back, voice rising. "But this isn't just about pride. It's about contracts, careers, the group. It's about people who didn't choose to be part of this." Jungkook froze. He hated when Jimin was the rational one. "You think I don't know that?" Jungkook snapped. "You think I didn't think about it before I held your hand? Then why does this feel like you're still reacting instead of deciding?" Jimin's voice cracked despite his control. "I don't want another impulsive choice that leaves me standing alone again." That hit. Jungkook stepped closer. "I'm not leaving you alone." "You did once." The room went still. Jungkook exhaled sharply. "Stop using that against me." "I'm not using it, I'm remembering it." There it was again, that calm, devastating honesty. Jungkook ran a hand over his face. "What do you want, Jimin?" "I want you to be sure," Jimin whispered, "not just brave, sure." A sudden buzz interrupted them. Jungkook's phone lit up with a message from management. "Emergency meeting, now." Jungkook showed Jimin the screen. Jimin nodded once. "Let's go." The conference room felt colder than usual. Executives sat lined up like a jury. Screens behind them displayed trending graphs and articles in multiple languages. The atmosphere smelled of coffee and tension. One of the directors folded his hands. "What you did last night was reckless." Jungkook didn't sit. It was honest. "It was unscripted," another voice corrected sharply. "Do you understand the financial implications?" Jimin spoke before Jungkook could. "We understand the risks." "Do you?" the director pressed. "Sponsors are reconsidering. Investors are asking questions. You represent more than yourselves." Jungkook felt anger flare again. "So what are you asking us to do?" "A clarification statement," the director replied smoothly. "Frame it as a performance choice, artistic expression, reassure the public. In other words, deny it." Jimin's stomach twisted. "And if we do?" Jungkook asked. A pause, calculated. "Then we'll have to reevaluate future activities." There it was, the threat beneath the diplomacy. Jungkook leaned forward, palms flat on the table. "You're asking us to lie. We are asking you to protect the brand." Jimin closed his eyes briefly. Brand, image, market value, words that had defined his adult life. "Give us a moment," Jimin said softly. They stepped out into the hallway. Jungkook was furious. "This is insane, after everything we've given." "They're scared," Jimin interrupted. "I don't care if they're scared." "I do." Jungkook stared at him. "Why?" "Because fear makes people cruel," Jimin answered, "and I don't want this to become a war." Jungkook's voice dropped. "So what, we just erase it, pretend last night didn't mean anything?" Jimin's eyes shimmered, but he didn't cry. He rarely did in front of others. "Last night meant everything to me." "Then fight for it." "I am fighting," Jimin said, frustration finally breaking through. "I'm fighting for a way where we don't burn everything down in the process." Jungkook fell silent. Jimin stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You think bravery is loud. It's not. Sometimes it's strategic. Sometimes it's waiting. Sometimes it's choosing the long game instead of the explosive one. And sometimes," Jungkook countered, "waiting is just fear in disguise." The words stung. Jimin looked away first. "You don't trust me," Jungkook realized. Jimin's shoulders tensed. "I'm trying to." That honesty was more painful than anger. Before Jungkook could respond, a commotion erupted near the entrance. Raised voices, staff whispering urgently. A journalist had somehow breached the building lobby. The sound of shouting carried down the hallway. "Are the rumors true? Are you in a relationship? Is the company silencing you?" Security scrambled. Jungkook's pulse quickened. "This is already out of control." Jimin inhaled slowly. The familiar instinct to smile, to smooth things over, rose inside him like muscle memory. But he stopped it. He looked at Jungkook instead. "Are you sure?" Jimin asked one last time. Jungkook didn't hesitate this time. "I'm sure." Footsteps approached. Cameras flashed even inside the building as security struggled to contain the chaos. In that chaotic blur, Jungkook reached for Jimin's hand again, not for show, not for defiance. For grounding. Jimin squeezed back. When they stepped into view of the flashing lights, questions exploded around them. "Is it true? Are you confirming the relationship? Will there be a statement?" Jungkook glanced at Jimin. Jimin gave the smallest nod. Jungkook faced the cameras, heart pounding but steady. "What you saw on stage wasn't an act." Gasps rippled through the lobby. Jimin felt his pulse in his throat. "It wasn't marketing," Jungkook continued. "It wasn't fan service, it was real." A barrage of questions followed. Jimin stepped forward this time. His voice was calm, but no longer hiding. "We're not here to create controversy. We are here to live honestly. We ask for respect, for us, and for the people we work with." It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't explosive. But it was undeniable. Security finally ushered them away as the noise swelled. Back in the elevator, the silence was thick. Jungkook let out a shaky laugh. "Well, there's no undoing that." Jimin leaned back against the mirrored wall, heart racing. No. Fear lingered, consequences would come, the company would react, the public would divide. But something inside Jimin felt different. Lighter. He looked at Jungkook, really looked at him. "You didn't hesitate," Jimin said softly. Jungkook met his eyes, not this time. For the first time since the cafe, since the rooftop, since all the unspoken fractures, Jimin felt the wound shift, not healed, not erased. But no longer bleeding alone. Outside the building, the world was already on fire with opinions. Inside the elevator, they stood side by side. Not safe, but certain. The fallout didn't come like a storm. It came like a slow suffocation. 3 days after the lobby confession, the building felt different. Staff avoided eye contact. Conversations stopped when they walked into rooms. Phones buzzed non-stop, but fewer messages came from people they once considered friends. Jimin noticed everything. He always did. He noticed the way a stylist hesitated before touching his hair, the way a manager spoke to him too carefully, like he might shatter, the way Jungkook's laughter had grown louder in public, as if volume could shield vulnerability. "You don't have to perform in here," Jimin said one evening in the practice studio. The room smelled like sweat and disinfectant. Mirrors reflected them endlessly, multiplying tension. Jungkook stopped mid-step. "I'm not performing." "You are." Jungkook turned sharply. "You're the one who smiles through everything." "Not anymore." The words hung heavy between them. Jungkook wiped his forehead with the back of his hand. "Then what do you want me to do? Fall apart?" "I want you to admit this is affecting you." "It's not." Jimin's jaw tightened. "Stop lying." The music in the background continued playing from a forgotten speaker, an upbeat rhythm that clashed violently with the mood. Jungkook's composure cracked. "Fine, you want honesty, I'm terrified." There it was. The word neither of them had said out loud since the elevator. "I'm terrified I dragged you into something that's going to cost you everything," Jungkook continued, packing. "I'm terrified the group will resent us. I'm terrified that one day you'll wake up and realize loving me was a mistake." Jimin felt the words settle into his chest. "You didn't drag me," Jimin said quietly. "I walked." Jungkook shook his head. "You shouldn't have had to." "And you shouldn't have had to choose between love and survival," Jimin shot back, frustration flaring. "But here we are." A notification sound cut through the air. Jungkook glanced at his phone and froze. "What?" Jimin asked. Jungkook turned the screen toward him. A leaked audio clip. A private conversation, their voices from weeks ago. Jimin's breath caught as he pressed play. It was from the rooftop. "You chose fear first." The audio cut there, edited perfectly for maximum damage. The caption beneath it read, "Proof of manipulation, inside the drama." Jimin's stomach dropped. "They recorded us," Jungkook whispered. "Or someone did." The realization felt invasive, intimate, violent. Jimin's mind raced. Who had access? Who would benefit? Why now? "They're painting you as unstable," Jungkook said, scrolling rapidly, "saying you pressured me." Jimin laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. "That's convenient." Anger ignited in Jungkook's chest. "I'm going to find out who did this." "And then what?" Jimin demanded. "Punch them. At least it would feel honest." Jimin stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You think violence will fix this? That's exactly what they expect from you. Reckless, emotional, out of control." Jungkook stiffened. "So now I'm the stereotype too." "That's not what I meant." "It's what you implied." Silence crashed down again, thicker this time. Jimin inhaled slowly. "This is what they want." "What?" "They want us turning on each other." Jungkook's breathing was heavy, uneven. "I'm not turning on you." "But you're spiraling." "And you're not," Jungkook shot back. "You think I don't see how you've been sleeping less, cleaning the dorm at 3 in the morning, rewatching interviews like you're searching for mistakes." Jimin froze. The exposure strung. "You think I don't know your tells," Jungkook continued, voice breaking. "You reorganize things when you're scared. You control what you can because you can't control what they're saying." Jimin looked away. For a moment, neither of them were idols or headlines or controversies. They were just two people drowning in noise. A knock interrupted them. It wasn't polite. It was urgent. Their manager stepped in, face pale. "We have a problem." Jungkook laughed bitterly. "Define problem." "There's talk of a suspension, temporary, to cool things down." The words hit like a physical blow. "Suspension," Jimin repeated. "It's not confirmed," the manager added quickly, "but the board is divided. Some think stepping back will protect the brand. Protect the brand. Again. And what do you think? Jungkook asked sharply. The manager hesitated. I think they're scared. Jimin's voice was steady, almost too steady. Of us. Of unpredictability. The manager left them alone again. Jungkook turned to Jimin immediately. If they suspend you. If they suspend us, Jimin corrected softly. They won't suspend me. The certainty in Jungkook's voice made Jimin look at him sharply. You don't know that. I do. Because Jungkook was the risk-taker, the headline maker, the one people expected chaos from. Jimin was supposed to be the stabilizer. If someone had to be sacrificed, it would be him. The realization crawled cold under Jimin's skin. You can't let them do that, Jungkook said fiercely. You think I have a choice? I'll refuse. And make it worse. Jungkook stepped closer, voice trembling. I will not let you take the fall for something we both chose. Jimin searched his face. Would you still say that if it meant your solo projects disappear? Jimin asked quietly. Jungkook didn't hesitate. Yes. The immediacy of the answer shook Jimin more than any headline. Before he could respond, his own phone vibrated. An unknown number. He almost ignored it. Almost. He answered. A distorted voice spoke through static. You should have stayed quiet. Jimin's blood ran cold. Who is this? You think honesty makes you brave. It just makes you vulnerable. The line went dead. Jungkook's face had drained of color. Who was that? I don't know. But they both understood. This wasn't just gossip anymore. This was targeted. Jungkook's fists clenched. I swear if someone is threatening you. They're threatening us, Jimin corrected, though fear coiled tightly in his chest. Jungkook stepped forward, grabbing Jimin's shoulders. Listen to me, if this gets dangerous. You think I'm fragile. That's not what I'm saying. Then stop looking at me like I'm going to break. The shout echoed off the mirrored walls. Jungkook's grip loosened. I'm not scared of hate comments, Jimin said, voice trembling now despite his effort. I'm scared of losing myself trying to survive them. Jungkook's expression softened. You won't, he said. You don't know that. Jungkook stepped closer again, slower this time. Then we hold on to each other, not just when it's dramatic, not just on stage, every day. Jimin's eyes burned. You promise? He asked, barely audible. Jungkook pressed his forehead gently against Jimin's. I promise. Outside, the world continued dissecting them. Analysts debated their motives. Fans divided into camps. Executives calculated numbers. Inside the practice room, the mirrors reflected two figures standing too close, too exposed, too human. For the first time since the rooftop, fear didn't feel like something to outrun. It felt like something to face. Together.